Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome back to the Professor's Lab. Let's get right down to it. Today is going to be a lot of questions about story and plot hooks. There's a few other ones, but I will try to warn you beforehand if you're not fully caught up. You might want to kind of skip around if you don't want to know the answers. I will also warn you, there are a couple questions about specific NPCs and their possible implications on the storyline. If you want to preserve the mystery, feel free to just skip any video that is in this particular lineup, because we are going to kind of lift the veil just a little bit anywhere that I can to tell you guys a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes, because I get a lot of questions about how you make NPCs and such. But let's get right down to it. Pixel King. What happened to the old rival kid with his Machop? Gill was a traveling trainer, so he was just hanging out in Oriander and happened to be there for a very spicy invasion. But he's probably still out continuing his Pokemon journey. There's always a chance we'll run into him someday, but who knows? Who can say? Gill has his own motivations and reasons for traveling, and maybe we'll find them out someday. Will mana be the key to the future? I don't know. She's delightful, and she's working exactly as intended. She is very, very cute. She's got some interesting abilities and such that we're just scratching the surface of, so I don't know if she's the key to the future, but I know that the players and I really enjoy how she's doing. Last up we have, could CJ become a superhuman or creature with unique powers? I will never say no, because CJ and Jordan keep me on my toes very, very well. They are very unpredictable. They are wild boys, both of them. Pressing on, Spin Blast 11. Will you add the Gen 9 starters, or will you wait till the game comes out? I'm so glad you asked, because I got a lot of these questions around the time that Legends came out. Will we be adding this or that Hisuian form to the game? And I'm going to cover it right here, and I'm just going to be as blunt as I can. You will never see anything added to the game just because it gets announced. The fact that something gets announced or released or leaked doesn't mean we're just going to throw it into the game willy-nilly. If it makes sense, then it'll make its way in there. But something like Klaus evolving into an Overquill, you probably won't see it unless that's something Ben wants to pursue, in which case we'll figure it out. We will figure out how that works. But we're not going to just like genetically splice new forms in that way unless it makes sense for the story. If it's happening in the story, then yes. But we probably won't see anything out of like Legends or Gen 9 for a good long while. Largely due to the release time between those games and the hiatus, because we have not played for quite some time. So you probably won't see that stuff just because it gets announced. But hopefully that answers your question. Minigamer88, hello Mini. What are some gifts the Tots could have gotten from Lord Ridgemont if they were more stubborn? So, the Tots gave up access to Ridgemont Manor. Ridgemont Manor proper, with all of its many, many things. And there's a couple other questions down here that we'll get into for what that could have entailed. But they gave up free access to Ridgemont Manor, the vault, everything inside it. And a thing called the Black Rose Embrace. It's a compound derived from the Black Roses of Ridgemont Manor. And I won't really get to tell you what it does because it's still a real thing in the game that might come up at some point, and I would love for them to discover organically what it is. But those are the big things, was access to Ridgemont Manor and the Black Rose's Embrace. In a very vague sense, they gave up a lot of information. Lord Ridgemont had a lot of information about them, about their families, about their journey that could have made things easier or a little more difficult. We saw just a touch of that for D. Moving on, Gianmarco Coronel. When will we get to understand or get an explanation on the power of the runes And will any new character get new powers like psychic auras or stuff like that? A lot of you guys want the tots to get superpowers. I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever get that. If it makes sense and they do all the right or wrong things, then maybe we'll see something like that. But I can explain to you what the runes are. So the runes are an example of old world magic remaining in the tots timeline. That's the simplest explanation for it. The runes do have actual genuine magical properties. They do things. They do work. Which has been great to watch D, a very intellectual character, go down this journey of like seeing spiritual artifacts actually functioning. So that's been great. That's been very great to see. As for like, will we see anybody develop like auras or psychic powers? Only if it makes sense, but probably not, given the nature of those abilities. Nobody, somebody. Did the gang tell Phoebe about what happened while she was in the mansion off screen, or did they just forget to tell her what happened while she was in the mansion? Yes, they did tell her. Longtime viewers of the show will remember we used to have recaps. Those still happen. We still do those, we just cut them. Because we realized a lot of the times, especially when folks are like binging to catch up, you don't really need it. You kind of just need like a sentence to catch you up. So we still do the recaps for ourselves before we start. So everybody is always up to speed on what happened. They caught her up very quickly, and she caught us up on what she was doing. Morton Whale! Do you have any plans with the Dominus system? Yes. Even though the initial plot hook never went anywhere, the device is still being used, and the implications are still there. Fire of Hades 20. On a good scale of 1 to 10, how dangerous are they to their opposing sides, or how big of a threat are they? So this is how strong are the tots compared to their various enemies. The tots are formidable, man. Every time I make a stat block and I go, yeah, this will be enough, it's not. So they are immensely powerful, which is good. So are their villains, which is bad. So I don't know if I can give you like a 1 to 10 answer, because it kind of depends who they're fighting and like what the terms are. But I mean, we have its feet was a pretty big wake up call. Spoiler warning for the fossils. There we go. I mean, they killed Salazzle in like a round of combat, and that was pretty much just Bentley and CJ. So that was a big one. Hopefully that kind of answers your question. They are formidable. They are very, very strong. Ashbot, you have a couple questions, so let's tackle them in time. What is your favorite Pokemon to voice? I really like Sage. I'm very excited for Mischievous to get a little on-screen time. However, I have an obvious favorite and a very close second. Chatot. Chatot is my favorite. Ditto's a close second. Shouting Report was a lot of fun. I will miss Cramorant. R.I.P. buddy. Not really, but like, you know, relocate in peace. I'll miss Cramorant just for the screaming. Which kind of gets into the next line of your question. Do you like speaking to the players as Pokemon or just screaming at them? I much prefer just screaming at them. It's very fun to watch the gears just shoot out sparks out of their ears while they're trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. Moving on down. What is one NPC you wish the players talked with more? It's kind of a bummer, because one, I've already sort of done like an entire video on this. It's called the Captain's Log. It's over on the Patreon. Mox. I really wish Mox's story had gone somewhere. I had a lot of stuff prepped and ready for Mox to do, but it was just kind of a case of someone getting caught in the crossfire. Things were not going well, and Mox was a soldier, and he knew what he had to do. He was not about to let a bunch of kids, you know, meet his fate. Casual coffee sip. But yes, the short answer is Mox. The long answer is also Mox, I think. It's just Mox. It's Mox all around. Mox is such a bummer to me. I thought Mox was such a cool character, and I had a lot of cool things in mind. At least I think. But we'll never know. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see on that. Moving on down. Are trade evolutions still a thing? We've touched on this in a few different questions, kind of tangentially, but no, not in the way you're thinking. There is not a Pokemon in our game that requires you to trade to evolve it. We do milestones, so even a Pokemon that might require a stone as a catalyst, if they meet the milestones, they could still do it. And last one, how have you been? I hope well, keep up the good work. I've been doing great, thank you. Thank you so much for asking. You guys have been so supportive of the tots in this hiatus, and I really appreciate it. I wish I could tell you, like, I know exactly when we're starting back up, but I don't. Otherwise, though, things have been going great. So hopefully you're all doing well as well. But thank you for asking. The Stop Short. Is there some place where we can view the characters' bios? I would love to see their stories, a list of their Pokemon, badges and achievements, likes and dislikes, and other info about them. Right now, there only exists the character bios. So that's the video at the beginning of the game, before we started. Is them reading through their backstories and kind of explaining what they're doing. A lot of you have asked about the intro and when we're gonna like add new things to the intro. The short, easy answer to that is that intro is not as easy as we thought it would be to edit. And also the hiatus has been kind of a hamper on that. What I mean is we have a delightful new set of things to worry about other than editing through the intro, and that is something that I would need Joel's help for. And Joel is very busy right now. He's a very busy man. We are looking into new intros. We are always looking into new intros, new ways to do the intros. I would love if it was like super easy to just kind of plug something in, but it's a little bit beyond my skills. So someday I'll figure that out. But character bios are in the character bios video. There are a few things on the boarding party Instagram from way back in the day. Like little character slides and like new team editions. That one kind of fell off. That's another thing that was kind of a lot of work that required a lot of input from everybody. And we like back in the day, everybody was working full time, some folks multiple jobs and trying to do this. So there was a lot of stuff that we started that was just not tenable to keep up. But the longer, I guess that is kind of the longer answer for the intro. The short answer is I don't know how, and we're working on that. But we're gonna try to make a new intro because we keep doing that. Seems like something that we do. Let's move on. Mason Banano. When are the players going to check William's hat again? That thing must have thousands of new goodies in it since the last time they checked it. Who knows? But bear in mind, the hat is not a bag of holding, and it only gets filled when William is out and about in the real world. So there are some new things in there since the last time they've checked, but who knows? We'll find out. Let's move on down. Bookworm has a few questions, and by a few, I mean a lot. So I'm going to do a couple of those here, and then I'm going to sprinkle them in throughout. So we're going to tackle some bookworm questions. We're going to do a bookworm rapid fire round. And we're just going to roll right on down the list. What happened to Kaia's remnant? She left with the tombstone. What was the spider thing in the woods? Could it have been beaten or caught? The dreamcatcher is a warlock patron in my usual D&D settings, and they just fit really, really well here. Could it have been caught? No, it's not a Pokemon. Could it have been beaten? Maybe with all of the tots at full strength. Might have been an interesting fight. Who knows? What happened to the jolticks? Are they all in the mansion? A few of them, yes. A lot of them are just hanging out in Ridgemont Manor, but the more prominent ones have taken up residence in Wilhelm Manor. They haven't gone too far. Will D ever get his trident? If that's something that he wants, maybe. Is Gordo okay? Gordo may have been injured, but he found his Yeti. Beyond that, I have no idea. Was Cloister an actual guardian, or was he in Nubster's situation, and did Cloister survive? This is a question that I feel like partially answers itself. Yes, Cloister and Nubster are in the same situation. Cloister was not a guardian, nor is Nubster. Nubster is a warden, and there's a subtle difference, but we haven't really gotten into that in the games. Did Cloister survive? Yes, but it's unlikely we'll ever see it again. The Source Stones do not take kindly to those who failed to protect them. Looking at Kaia, did she used to have a tombstone? If so, does that mean CJ can continue developing ghost powers just not as easily? Are the tombstones related to the ghost stone? Aside from the tombstones or psychic shenanigans, how do ghost Pokemon form? Yes, Kaia used to have a tombstone. No, CJ cannot develop new ghost powers. They will not go away, but he cannot develop new ones because he has given up his tombstone. The tombstones are inexorably linked to the ghost stone. And aside from tombstones or psychic shenanigans, how do ghost Pokemon form? They don't. But there we go. I'm going to leave the rest about Kaia ambiguous, and we will probably do like an entire video on Kaia, because Kaia is a very divisive figure in the history. So that does it for this this bookworm rapid fire round. Brent K, you had a great question. I gotta ask, did Bentley inspire Wyman Coover with saying to have Bang catch the Mareep? He did not, but great minds think alike. I have to give full credit for Wyman Coover's ascent to being a trainer to Joel thinking on his feet and giving a Pokeball to a Tangela and letting him have a go at catching a Zubat. That is a prime example of when have the players surprised you. Wyman Coover was meant to be like a random encounter with a slightly negative disposition towards the Tots because they dragged him out of the bushes and onto a boat. So I love Wyman Coover. He's great. Wyman Coover for the region champion. I stan Wyman Coover. Moving on down to the last one for this video. Reptile Xeno, how do you do events? Like the attack on Xantha, the destruction of the Fire Source Stone. Is that a set in stone moment in the campaign timeline? Or is that something to happen where you thought the players were ready for the challenges it would bring? And a couple of you kind of tacked onto this. I know I saw Bookworm and maybe a couple other of you have kind of asked something similar. So let me tackle that one real quick. Nothing in the campaign is ever set in stone. There is nothing that might happen that the players couldn't stop. I don't believe in railroading the players, and I encourage them to go do whatever they want to do, and wherever they go, that's what the story looks like. There will always be too many things for them to do. There will always be things that they cannot get to. But every single thing that happens could be interacted with in some way. Player choice is super important to me. I believe that if the players are being creative, they should be rewarded for it. There should always be something they can do. Whether or not they realize it is up to them, but I love rewarding creative thinking. But the bottom line, the end of the day, I really want to tell the parts of the story that the players want to be involved in. The villains and the other key pieces in the world are always moving. They are always doing things. The Tots can always interact with that. So nothing is set in stone in that way. There is no moment in the campaign so far that had to happen the way it did. Everything could have been changed at any given point, which is why I don't usually answer like hypothetical questions for these, because anything is possible. I have no idea. Like if we go back and we're looking at like Hillmouth or something and they like shoot down the blimp, things get real different from there. If we're setting out and from Oriander they go to Greengate, the entire campaign is different. So nothing is set in stone. Nothing at all. I didn't lay out like a timeline of what the Tots campaign would look like and like, okay, around this session this will happen and then over here this will happen. But yeah, that's kind of a rambly way of saying, yeah, nothing is set in stone, and I'm glad the players were ready to kind of rise to the occasion. I think they handled it very well. But that's going to do it for this round of the Professor's Lab. If you enjoyed this video, then I'm very glad because I enjoyed making it for you and making it with you. Thank you very much for your questions. If you have more questions, if you have clarifications on any of my answers to the ones you've seen in this video or any of the other ones, go ahead and drop them in the comments, either on this one, any of the prior lab videos. If you're in the Discord, you can put the questions in the Professor's Lab Discord in there if you want to. But it is easier for me to see them on the YouTube comments. So feel free to keep adding those. I will keep the series up as long as we have more questions to answer. So in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining me today for the Professor's Lab. I love you all very much, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!